Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.
The Sportsman's Nation Podcast Network is brought to you by onX Hunt. Bringing you the best GPS mapping software directly to your smartphone or desktop, onX offers you the ability to see property boundaries, mark waypoints, track your location, and so much more. Visit onxmaps.com or you can download it directly from your app store today. Save 20% off of your purchase by using the code NATION20 at checkout. That's capital N Nation followed by the number 20.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet chasing bear. This is part 2 in our podcast with Roy Clark and the Laurel Mountain Bear Hunters in East Tennessee. Part 1, we established Roy as a plot breeder, a bear hunter, and a lifelong Appalachian mountain bear houndsman. The second part of the podcast, it's about an hour long, and the conversation continues. W Hunting Supply sells everything that a houndsman or any type of dog hunter would need, from Garmin products, leashes and collars, custom t-shirts, all kind of stuff. Great customer service, great people, houndsmen, knowledgeable about their products, great customer service. Check out our buddies at W Hunting Supply. Also, this week, we're going to do some more Northwoods Bear Products giveaways. So leave us a review on iTunes. Get a screen capture of that review and communicate with us. Send that screen capture to our social media private message, Instagram, Facebook, or info@bear-hunting.com for a chance to win some Northwoods Bear Products. We've sent about 6 or 7 bottles of Northwoods out to you guys that left reviews. Thanks so much, and enjoy the second part of our podcast with Roy Clark. Why don't we talk about some of your favorite dogs, and I also want to talk to you about your breeding.
I started telling you about some of the best dogs, the trail dogs.
Yeah.
And that was Daddy Rambler and John and then on up to, and actually, I guess my best trail dog, well, he done pretty good at trailing too, but I had that trail bitch that he stayed with. I guess she smelled better than he did. The trail bitch, one I call a trail bitch. But actually I'd go up to Leroy. And I guess just tell you the truth, that over the years and the dogs and stuff that I've seen and everything, I'd still have to back up and say he was as good as he can. even though I've had some I felt like as good as it comes since then. And maybe some of them before him was as good as it came. But now he is a good one, buddy.
Smokey.
No, Leroy.
Leroy, I'm sorry.
And he would lay on that truck so tired he couldn't move. And I'll guarantee you, if you passed where he struck a bear yesterday, and I'll guarantee you, no matter how sound asleep he was, he'd bark at least one time and maybe twice when you passed that place. The day before that you found him. I've turned him on many and many a 2-day-old tracks, and he's trailed them up. Some he's jumped, and some he's trailed up to where other hunters has turned loose on them. And they couldn't believe that, and they seen it. But in Brushy Mountain, over there's part of them had seen it. But now that sucker was a trail dog, buddy. And that started when he was a year old.
Leroy, when was he alive?
Let's see.
Early 90s.
Is that when it was?
Early 90s. That's what it was.
Early 90s. Born in the late 80s, maybe.
Then I had another dog that I call Hamster, which was more than likely, if you said I want one dog to try to bear hunt and to kill a bear, he would have been the one I'd have owned. All the dogs I've owned that you could kill a bear with by yourself. And
he would not have been or would have been?
He would have been.
He would have been.
And
Hamster.
He could smell.
Clark's Laurel Mountain Hamster.
He could smell. Actually, it was Troutman's Bandit, I believe, on paper.
Okay,
I believe it's Troutman's Bandit on paper. But he could smell a 2-day-old cold bear track. I didn't use him to trail with, but he could trail and smell. But I used him to catch bears, and that sucker was a bear machine, buddy. Bear machine.
What does that mean to you?
Well, that means that one night, we was up McGuff, and we run this bear, and it got dark, and everything had quit it but him. And he walked that sucker around and up in Laurel Creek and right up Laurel Creek. And you could tell he was like right on top of it, barking at it and just yeah, and right nearly getting a hold of it. And actually, my brother, Vernon Hudson, and Danny Fish, they got down there on the road, and it's a big wide road, and it was dark, but they made a V like that right there. Here come Hap up through there with that bear. He walked that bear out in the middle of that road, and all three of them shot it and killed it dead as a mackerel right in the middle of the road. That was a bear dog to me that you could kill. They're hard to kill with a pack of dogs. And that sucker meant business, buddy. Buddy got killed when he was 7 years old. But now he was a good. But now when you killed a bear and you choked him off of it, ever how you got him off of it, you couldn't just get him off of it. He wouldn't turn it loose. But when you got him off of it, you better get him over to yonder alleyway. Don't let no dog, don't let nobody, don't let nothing get in front of him because he about whatever got in front of him. But now when you took him away and took the bear away and let his nerves calm down, he's just gentle as our dog you want to see. But now, buddy, he's tough around a bear. He's pretty tough.
You think that's one of the all-time, one of the best dogs that you ever hunted?
He is a one-man's army if I ever owned one.
Was that right?
I'll say that much. He was a one-man's army, and I've heard, that guy up yonder said he had a dog that was a one-man's army years ago in North Carolina. But if I ever owned one, he was it.
Did you breed into that dog? I mean, I guess you
Not
did.
enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
That was getting in the time when I was just getting into the breeding and stuff.
Yeah. What other great dogs did you have?
Well, then it come up from that and him and actually the trail bitch. She's a good trail bitch. She had a few faults to her. And then you take Frisky. She was a good trail bitch. And then you take Annie. She was a good trail bitch. So, and then you come on up past that and get into some more, which I thought was good trail dogs. So
at one time we had
Pete
and Little Bit.
A Little Bit, and them dogs could trail a bear, cold bears. And Pete was pretty good about smelling, but where he had it on them other dogs was he'd go out here and keep a working out there, going forward. And a lot of times he'd come up with a bear where these others would be stuck back here in the feed ground and stuff, and he'd just keep it getting on out there till he'd finally get it.
I see.
And stuff. And I'm saying, Matthew.
How old did he live? Was he 14?
17-year-old.
17?
15, 16, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
It trailed all the way up to
Then
the
they
end.
put him
Really?
down.
How old was it? How old was
He's
he when we
16
killed that? You killed the bear too.
When me and Josh went over
The
there.
last bear you ever got killed.
And I'll
to.
tell you about that.
Yeah.
Me and Josh went, and Tony went with us. And Dennis, Tony's cousin, went with us. And Kenneth Self come up there. And that's what there was of us. Well, it was like,
That's a skeleton crew.
this was like
Okay. So three guys, did we say?
That's about it.
Yeah.
It was
So-
one guy
so
and
actually,
5 old guys.
actually tell you the truth.
Okay.
This was like
Probably the last day of the season.
This is like the last day of December or January the 1st. Either the next to the last day or the last day one time. Might have been the last day. Well, we wasn't finding nothing, but Josh was going to lead up his fork, and he was taking Hooker and
Chrissy.
Chrissy, up his fork. Well, that cousin of Tony's, he said, if I had a dog, I'd lead it around that road, around there where our boys had the bait at earlier in the year. And I said, I ain't got nothing else to lead around through there because we left part of them here. We didn't take all of them. We took 10 dogs, didn't we? And I said, I've got Pete in here. I said, he's old, 16-year-old. And I said, he's old. But I said, if you want to walk him around through there, just turn him loose and walk him around through there. See what he does. So he walked him around through there. And a while he called back. And he said, he smelled something out here. I said, what you doing, Dennis? He said, he's a smelling and a wiggling his tail. And I said, do you see anything there? He said, I ain't seen nothing yet. And then directly he called back and he said, he's barked a time or two. I said, he's just smelling something, man. So he looked and he said, I see where something slid down through here a little bit, down this bank a little bit. So he just kept a pecking and a going on and going on. And finally got over on a big old lead. And he was old and slow. He couldn't go much faster. But he jumped that fire. Well, he come through Jones's branch and come up on that Sam lead. And it started going right towards East Fork. Well, Josh held up. And we went up there. And we got beside him, didn't we? And we just stayed beside him. Could hear him barking every breath coming down that ridge. All fast, just coming down that ridge. Barking down that lead. So we decided it wasn't going to come off to the road. It was going to cross East Fork. So Josh got 5 dogs, and up East Fork he went. 4 or 5. I don't know how many he got. He got several. Took off up through there. He wasn't gone 5 minutes, was he?
Maybe.
Till he called back. He said, bear in the trail. And he turned them dogs loose. That bear ran out right in front of him. And he turned them dogs loose. When he turned them loose, I turned the rest of them loose. Right towards him up there. I said, the rest of them are coming towards you. Guide them into the thing, to the race if you can. Well, they didn't even make it to him. When they got up there where they heard them dogs, they cut their own self and went. And I swear if they didn't catch that bear from here to Tony's and caught it. And the next thing I know, Josh called back. He said, they've got caught over here treating one to the other. Well, I said, go over there and see what they're doing then. Well, it wasn't long till he called back, and he said, it's up a tree. I said, you just get under that tree, hold guard on it, I'm a-coming. Hold guard on it till I get there. So here I went up through there. Took me a while to get to him, but I got to him. And when I got to him, I took charge of the gun. Let him tie the dogs up.
Yep.
Well, after he got the dogs tied up, I told him, I said, Josh, I better kill this one. I said, I know this is the last bear that he'll ever tree and be under the tree. Mm-hmm. And turn loose, jumped it, and be under the tree. And I said, I think I ought to be the one that shoots you down. He said, lay it on him. So I shot that sucker out there. About 165-pound bull bear, wasn't it?
Yep.
Am I good?
That was a good day. No,
How long
that
ago?
one ain't been that long.
No.
That
No,
one ain't
you
been
remember
that long.
Pete, Brenda?
So he's told you a lot about dogs, Clay, and everything you keep hearing him talk about was the trail dogs.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. Because if you can't get the bear jumped, you can't get all these other dogs. We call them pack dogs. A lot of those dogs will be a bear dog. They'll run a jump bear. But that's the name of the game, is getting it up and jumped.
Right.
And that's where we've been lucky over the years to have all these dogs Roy's telling you about.
I got a good fresh tale to tell you. And it's the last bear we killed this year, which was Saturday before Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the last 3 days. So it was on Saturday.
After Christmas.
Saturday after Christmas.
So we decided we was going hunting on Saturday. And we loaded dogs up, went over there. Well, this boy hunts with another group, which is a good boy, wanted to go with us. Kenny told me that, and I said, well, let him come on. He went, I think, one time with us last year. Let him come on. So he brought him, and we got over there, and they had pretty well everything stopped up pretty good.
He's talking about another hunting group. They usually try to get over earlier than us.
So they had everything.
Okay.
They had everything stopped up pretty good. So we decided we'd go to the state line. So, was you there, Matthew?
No, I was working.
Uh,
Unfortunately,
so,
I used all my vacation
I
up.
guess, no, I
Christmas
believe the
time.
preacher went somewhere, didn't he, Al? Did he?
Yeah, he was there. He didn't. You and Josh on one over on the state line.
I know it, but didn't he go up East Fork and lead dogs?
Yeah, he went all with these.
I believe he took Hooker up through there. Anyway, they went up through there. And I said, can you might as well let that boy that come go with Josh? And I said, they can take, I think they went up and took 5 dogs. 4? Well, 4 dogs. And they actually went up through there. Well, they didn't get nowhere up there. They found a bear track. And so Josh said, I can't tell nothing about what's going on here. He said, it's to all the pieces around here. So I said, just turn Bart loose and see if he can work it out there. So he turned Bart loose, and Bart did, and go up there and turn off towards the road, towards us. Well, when he turned off toward the road towards us, I told him put Annie in with him. He did. And they trailed that bear in 300 and something yards of us down there. And then started grading that mountain. And grading that mountain and then turned back up. Josh and them come back and stayed even with them. And I was son of a gun if they didn't trail that bear right back up to where they started at and right into that gum that Josh turned them loose in. I made that big old circle there. So he said he called Annie. I said, well, don't catch Bart. Leave him loose and see if he'll work it out there. And it took him a little while. But he finally started going just a little bit out through there. Then he started grading up towards the state line. And he turned Andy back loose with him. And I was son of a gun, so when they left there, they got to doing better the further they went, and the better the further they went. And then when they went off the other side, they didn't go further, they jumped it. Well, when they jumped it, we was down there on the road, and we was standing even with them around through there, and here it come, right toward the state line. And I was son of a gun. It got to the state line. Instead of coming on across the state line into Tennessee, it's closed. That sucker turned right up a state line on the North Carolina side and went right back toward Josh and them. Right back towards Josh and Matthew. And Ed walked all the way through there. And Josh and them, here the bear was coming right toward them. But all of a sudden, when it got right under them, it turned right back down the mountain towards us. Right back down the mountain. So we talked, me and Josh did, put them dogs in if you're going to put them in, because
The only chance we had.
The only chance you ain't going to get no more chances. So it turned out real good. They got in it perfect. And Annie had done pulled in front of Bart, and them others was catching up a Bart, and it come on around there to the state line, and he pulled up tree. And I thought, it's a tree in North Carolina, right next to the state line. But it wasn't long till Magic got to her, and when Magic got to her, it started moving again. Well, when the rest of them started catching up some. But when it went across the state line and went down the other side, just barely through the creek and started up the other side, it treed.
In Tennessee.
So Josh and Matthew went to the tree and got it down 5 trees. And every time he'd come down the tree, it'd get closer to North Carolina. It finally got close enough till it was legal to kill. When they got next to the tree, it come down on its own. Well, they finally got to the last tree and caught the dogs. As soon as they caught the dogs, it come down. And they give it a minute or so. Take off. Son, he come into North Carolina good then. When they turn them dogs back loose, they come plumb to Grass Creek on it. Locked down tree in Grass Creek. Well, I went up there and asked this old man if we could go up through there to him. Yeah, we could. So Alvin, David, and Michael, I said, just might as well going up through there. Them boys is coming around there to him. They'll have it killed by the time you get up there. I said, just might as well go up through there and help them. And I was, son of a gun, we could have packed dogs. We could hear the dogs from that house. I mean, it'd have been there in less than a minute, wasn't it, to them. But we didn't pack nothing because it's showing tree. I was, son of a gun, if him and Michael didn't walk up on it, and there it was on the ground. Them dogs barking at him. So Michael got it killed. And then Josh and them come on into him. And that boy said that was the first real bear hunt, and he'd bear hunted probably 10 years. He said that was the first real bear hunt he'd ever been on. And he said going in the woods and turning loose and being the one that got to the dogs every time and down the trees and stuff. So he talked to one of them boys that they hunt with, and he told him, he said, you wouldn't believe it. He said, I thought it wasn't nothing. But he said, at the end, it produced a bear. And he said, we ain't got dogs to do that. So Carl J told him, he said, I know I know what they'll do. He said, you can't tell me nothing. He said, I've hunted with them. He said, we don't do that stuff no more. That boy said it was beyond him. Now, he couldn't believe what he seen that day. I thought that was pretty good of him.
That's something. You talk to me about breeding. I know we talked a lot about this earlier, which is going to be on a different podcast. But so if you could, or have you guys seen trends inside of the way that
I
Roy
ain't got
breeds
no
dogs?
much secrets on breeding, except actually that we've had these dogs, and like I say, we bred them, and luckily we've come up with good dogs. I think good dogs, and especially to have a trail dog for 60, 70 years, in my opinion, is doing good. And so I can't come up with something to tell somebody about breeding dogs except maybe just what I do. But actually, I think that these dogs that we bred up through the years, and then the semen that I got out of Bear, which was in 96, and breeding hit back into these dogs, getting a male dog that goes back to Leroy, is his grandpa, and I guess before that, Jack would have been the great-grandpa. But anyway, that's all trail dogs and stuff. And breeding that dog back into these dogs and bringing that old blood that goes back to Charles Gants and stuff and bringing it back out in them. And actually, we've got some dogs that are doing pretty good, ain't we?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Some young dogs.
some of them is a tiny bit nervy, but they're learning, and they ain't got no broke bones. But now they've had some scars, buddy.
Yeah, they got bear sign on them.
They've got bear sign on them. And I'm talking about first-year dogs and second-year dogs, too.
But besides nose, what would you say you're after the most?
Well, actually, tell you the truth, one thing you got to have is stick and stay. That would be, and to never quit. That would be the main thing, I guess. They got to smell to be able to trail. But if they won't stick and keep on and on and on till they get it jumped, then that backs you up some.
Right.
So, in my opinion, stick and stay. And I just tell you the truth. Leroy was one of them kind, and that Maltese, they wasn't no more sticker than she was.
Right.
I seen it take her 6 hours to jump a bear.
Powder? Yeah.
But now, buddy, she wouldn't give up. And you get tired of that. You're ready to catch them, and you might would have caught them and went on a hunting somewhere else. But now, they wasn't no quit in her. You couldn't call her off a bar track. Only way you got her off was a catcher, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But now you couldn't call Leroy off no bar track neither. I mean, it just wasn't no time. Actually, tell you the truth, if you went and got Leroy, you put a lead strap on him. If he was trailing a bear, he'd just lay down. He wouldn't come with you. You carried him. He wouldn't come.
They've been probably numerous bears that we've actually got on that never treed that we've walked, 6 to 8 to 10 hours and finally got them killed. And them dogs,
Well, I'll tell you what.
just stay and not
What's you
pack
thinking
them.
right there? What's them pictures
Not
at?
pack them, but actually from the get-go and just stay, before we got them killed.
Huh?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's got that right, about the stick and stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually, them not doing that bear would have, it would have got away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, these boys stayed after that bear. They stayed after that bear till they was busted and run out of gas and dehydrated and stuff. They had to come out and get Gatorade and stuff to drink and then go back. We had a hard time getting it killed.
Like 9 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, I think it's about 9.5 hours.
That was the one we lost powder on.
Earlier, we talked about how he talked about sometimes two top dogs don't necessarily produce top dogs.
Yep.
A lot of times it's a mediocre dog, and mediocre by the standards that any bear hunter that's breeding dogs or anybody that's breeding dogs for anything is going to have a standard dog that's acceptable.
right.
And inside of that range, you're going to have phenomenal dogs, and then you're going to have acceptable dogs, and then you're going to have some dogs that don't make the cut. And this is what's fascinating to me, is even inside of these real good lines of bear dogs like these that y'all are hunting, there's going to be some that may not make it. I mean, it's possible. Out of a litter of 10 dogs, not all of them are going to be dogs that you keep forever and hunt and want to breed to. But a real good line has a much higher percentage of dogs that are going to make.
Yeah.
But inside of that make category, quote unquote, a dog that makes your pack,
Two different classes.
there's going to be some that are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then and those are the ones that Roy's talking about that are hard to come by. Those are those trail dogs that you just depend on.
Powder was that. Powder was, and anybody that's got dogs like we've got, 30 dogs we're always talking about, you're going to run into an accidental breeding that you didn't intend to happen.
Right.
That's where Powder came from.
Yeah.
2 dogs bred together, tied close to each other, and she was the only one that made it. The other puppies.
So that wasn't
didn't
even
make
a breed. That wasn't even on purpose.
And it was probably in our lifetime
Right.
the best one we've ever hunted with.
Wow.
And we didn't even get to see her full potential.
Yeah. And that's a great example. Roy told me the story on the way up here. I mean, he wasn't even going to keep those pups.
No.
So this young female got bred. It was a buckskin female.
Buckskin female.
Young buckskin female got bred accidentally and it ended up producing one of the best dogs y'all ever had. Yeah.
I believe y'all were going to
Yeah.
Canada. I believe they were going to Canada when she was born. And
No.
Was it Wisconsin? You
No.
were going somewhere because I was the only one here. And the mama wasn't producing milk. I told Jamie about it, so he got the one puppy that was alive and took it up there and raised her.
No, I told you to go up there.
Let's hear the real story.
And see how many and get them pups.
Right.
Well, you went up there and got them. You come back with 2 dead ones to the barn with 2 dead ones.
And that was
one
it?
Maltese and one black.
Right.
And had some brindle on it. And you said there's another one up there, a live one. And you said it looks funny too. Well, I said, go get hit and see what it looks like. So he goes and gets hit and brings it down there and hits a Maltese brindle. So I said, well, we'll just keep that. Just put it back in our wither. But she wasn't to give it no milk.
Right.
So it went on 2 or 3 days, and every day it was getting poor, and it was be out of the house, and it just be a squall. And so Bree said, Papa, let's take it to the house and see if we can raise it.
Yeah.
So we brought it up here, and I got it to eat a little bit, and we was going to Canada. So Jamie said he'd take it and food it for me. So that's what he done.
Yeah.
Then it went up there
So
till it done that.
tell me what a
Ain't
Maltese
that right
brindle
now, what I'm
is.
telling you, Josh?
It's a powder blue, light blue looking color. If you think of the San Diego Chargers powder blue uniforms, and that's where her name come from, powder.
Yeah.
It's a really light shade of
So
blue.
it's a really unique plot because
very
most of these
unique
plots
color.
are
They're black. They're black brindle.
Well, I seen that bird.
Red brindle that you mentioned, a Maltese.
And I can't find it at all now.
A buckskin.
It's a standing up, Matthew, on that vehicle.
we're looking for
Won't
some,
lay
a
down.
picture here. I wanted to explain. So a Maltese plot would be a unique, very unique color. I mean,
Well, I
like
thought she
one
was a
out
lot
of every.
prettier than a Maltese. And the reason why I thought she was a lot prettier than a Maltese was she was a Maltese yellow brindle. She had some yellow
Maltese
streaks in her
yellow
stuff.
brindle.
And that made her look a lot better, didn't it? And actually, there's a picture or 2 of her in there, Matthew, but it's hard to tell what she looks like.
So we started that story about powder though. We're talking about breeding.
That
There she
middle one
is.
Right there. But I might can find a decent picture of her. I don't know.
Yeah. She is pretty, beautiful.
Oh, she was pretty. Now.
Is that sometimes you're breeding 2 top dogs don't reproduce themselves. Right. And Mr. Roy said that sometimes you have a
no, but I just
average
tell
dog.
you now, I ain't for breeding a female that ain't a good one. I ain't for breeding a female that ain't a good one myself. I think that female does a lot to them.
You think the female's more important than the male?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, there she is. Yeah, almost a silvery gray color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Pretty boy.
So what else about breeding?
Well, I just think that what I've done in a breeding the Gant dogs, actually, Leroy was full Gant, and Bear was 3/4 Gant. So, actually breeding them dogs back into these dogs down here, and actually breeding to Mark's dog up there and having Maine, and breeding him to her, and Harry Joe being in there a quarter and stuff, and everything. I believe it. I think it's produced us some good dogs, don't you?
Sure
Yeah,
has.
sure.
And I mean some fast dogs too.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was trying to get him to get to a while ago was the speed.
Okay.
And just
And I'm going to tell you something about speed now. Speed will kill more bears than anything you can have. Speed will. Because I'm going to say at least 60% of your bears, if you catch them, is going to tree.
If
Just
your dogs
tree right.
catch up to them.
If they can catch them.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, if you got the speed, then you wind up with treeing more bears than you will with anything if you got speed when you put it in there.
Just first of all, with these dogs that, like I said, we've talked about with their trailing and rigging and stay and stuff. it makes it fun, to go to the woods and hunt with these dogs, knowing that there's probably a 99.9% chance when you find a bear track that the end result's either going to be it's more or less it's going to be caught, So
Yeah.
it's satisfying, with that part being said. And another thing too, Roy. Yeah, I'll tell this on him. He ain't never been much of a morning person. We're always eager to go. He's like, boys. He said, you got good trail dogs. He said, you don't have to get up early. He said we can go find a bear track. He said, don't worry about it. He said, you don't have to get up early. He's talking about as far as trailing wise and finding a bear.
Yeah.
A lot of people without no nose and and like I said, there's so much competition around here. It is hard to get ahead of other hunting groups because they live so much closer to the areas we hunt besides here right at home.
Okay.
So but still, when we roll in, they dread seeing us come, put it that way, because they know when we come, we pretty well mean business. So
yeah,
it is kind of like a competition, but that's a fun part about it. And I like that part.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to tell you something. I don't forget what it was.
I'm gonna say it was. I'm gonna say it was something to do with ACDC, or the boys is back in town. Or
Not really, but I was gonna. Oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. Now we look for a track where most of them relies on their dog and they're going to strike one, or it ain't crossed, or it ain't trailable, and it's untelling how many we jump that they don't. They just pace up and go on.
Because you're looking for a track.
Because we're looking for a track. Yeah.
On the ground.
On the ground, on the bank, anywhere we can see it, and I'm telling you what. When we find it and we get on it, it's had a bad day, ain't it, Matthew?
That's right. That's what I was saying.
You either kill it or don't kill it.
And what you're describing there is that a lot of guys are driving through these areas hoping that their dogs bark on a fairly hot track that can be smelled in the air. Yeah. You guys are coming through behind them, and maybe your dogs don't rig.
Right.
I mean, because maybe the track's that old, but you see where it went down the bank, and that's where the art and skill and the hunter side of this thing really shows through.
That's what that boy that I just told you about a while ago couldn't believe. He said, I ain't never seen nobody do nothing like that. He said, all I'm used to is pulling up to a bait and turning 3 truckloads of dogs loose and hoping they jump a bear.
Yeah.
He said, that's the kind of hunting I'm used to.
Yeah. And so y'all are seeing you're seeing things that people won't see unless your eyes are highly attuned and trained to it. And where these bears are crossing roads, just going off banks, going up ditches, and then you're putting dogs on it, and you're catching a bear. That's what you mean when you say you're catching a bear that somebody drove past.
Right. Sometimes we may turn 3 or 4 dogs loose on him.
Yeah.
And that is if we ain't having to save trail dogs. But if we do that and they jump it, them old dogs, they get snatched up and put back in the truck just as soon as you can.
Right.
But now we don't turn a whole bunch of dogs loose and stuff till a bear's jumped, and then we put them where they need to be and start catching the old dogs. That's what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
And ain't many people hunts like that no more, are they really? No. Hardly nobody hunts like that no more.
That's where I see the fun of it at, is actually hunting that track and using your dog to jump that bear and tree that bear, instead of you're relying on a barrel to attract the bears in, to turn loose on. But actually going out in the woods and finding that track. And also, which always taught me a lot about tracking a bear, which way is it broke a limb, or, some areas it's really tough, to tell which way is it going, and that's
a skill.
That's a kind of,
And I just tell you the truth about that. I believe these boys has learned more about it than I know.
You've taught us.
That's right.
I believe they can tell you which way one's going better than I can.
But it all came from him.
Yeah, it all came from him.
Teaching us that skill, you know.
Yeah.
He's,
You know, and that's a good point because, you know, you take Matthew, one of the best trackers around about picking out a bear track, and you take Scott and Michael and Dad and some of these others they're going to go get in front of those dogs, and that's why Roy says with my dogs and my boys, you know, we're going to catch the bears because we all kind of know our jobs and what our roles are and what we're good at, and you know, and that's the fun in it for us, and it don't matter to me if Matthew kills the bear, or Scott or who. It's all about the teamwork, and it's a team win.
You know,
team effort,
that's a great point that most big game hunters don't understand. 99.9% of big game hunters don't understand. When I was with you guys, and we killed, well, I guess I was here for three, but maybe 5. I was at 3 bear kills, I think.
We killed 5 or 6 while you was here. We killed.
Is that kid shot a bear out of the tree, and I mean, it's his bear. He killed this bear. Well, he ended up walking out of the woods, as I remember, and everybody that was there at the tree, I mean, he had to go for some reason or something, and everybody else took care of that bear, hauled it 1.5 miles out of the woods. I mean, whoever kills this bear, they may get the hide or however it works out, but the meat's split up. People, it's not just like, well, you killed a bear, good luck, we'll see you tomorrow. I mean, we took those bears back to somebody's house over here, and everybody was there. There were wife and kids there. Everybody skinned those bears. I mean, it truly is a group event, and it really doesn't matter who kills the bear.
We try to let youngins kill them for somebody that can get to the tree or something other, especially if it's going to stay there.
Yeah.
But now a lot of them bears we killed when you was here is on the ground.
Yes.
We didn't have no choice to about who killed them.
Right. Well, I'd say that's pretty unique. Scott, why don't you let Scott have that for a second?
Sure.
Scott, no, Roy, I want you to keep it on. You keep it on. Scott, what would you? What needs to be said that hadn't been said yet?
You just covered it pretty good. I get more the enjoyment out of the dogs and fooling with the dogs and stuff and seeing them do good.
Yeah.
But you know, it's fun hunting too. But that's where I get my enjoyment out of it. You know, seeing the dogs do good and them do good, and that's what I like the best part about it.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's good. It's really good. If you're where you get to hear them trail, and then you hear them start squalling out if they jump that bear. Now that'll excite you about as good as killing a bear one day.
You can't get no better than that. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, getting to see them raised up from puppies and all that, and doing all the stuff you do with your puppies as they're growing up, and then getting to see that finished product's a lot of fun.
Well, Scott, I know you play a big part of this over here, feeding these dogs and everything. What would you? How would you describe Roy Clark?
For me, you can't ask for a better person. I couldn't ask for a better father-in-law. You know, he's good to me and everything.
Yeah.
Mother-in-law, she's good to me too. we have our differences, but she's good to me too. But Roy, I couldn't ask for a better person. You know, be around and stuff. I mean, because I've been around him 27 years. Yeah, 27 years
I'd
now.
say.
And like I said, I couldn't ask. You know, I mean, he's good to me and stuff and whatever. And you know, like I said, and I get the enjoyment out of the dogs. You know, being around him. Get to learn. We all have learned a lot from him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us.
Well, we all take his dogs down here
and
to beat all of our dogs. You know, I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah. You, come say this into the mic, Miss Brenda. Okay, your daughter.
Yeah.
Roy and Brenda's daughter, Jill, Scott's wife.
That's right.
She really loves to hunt.
Oh yeah, she goes with me all the time.
Yeah.
She needs to be over here and run her mouth a little bit.
Yeah, she can do that for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think is unique inside of this is that there's generational layers inside of, if we could just take Laurel Mountain Bear Hunters here, there's generations that are represented, at least 3, maybe 4, and there's a structure inside of that's you guys respect Roy, you respect these older guys.
Oh yeah.
And you don't just respect them, but they've taught you guys so much. And here Mr. Roy says that y'all are better than him at a lot of stuff. And I think that's the way it's supposed to work. Yeah. I mean, not just in bear hunting, but in life. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Exactly how it's supposed to work.
It's supposed to work that there's life is designed that we learn stuff from those who've gone before us, those who we choose to give our respect to.
Yep.
And they teach you about life, And
I tell you, these boys has grown up into bear hunting and went when they could or when they'd let them go and all that kind of stuff ever since they've been babies. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, you can't beat them.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be somebody somewhere got something that's good, but you ain't going to beat this outfit here when you turn on a bear and when it gets jumped. And we have a good time, too. We don't have no arguments. We don't have no nothing.
Yeah.
And we actually don't have no drinking, period. And it actually turns out to be good, don't it?
Yeah.
And stuff, I mean.
Yeah, 'cause that's what
you don't put up with any. He doesn't put up with any monkey business, does he?
No, not quite. But that's what it's all about, those hunting. That's the enjoyment of it.
And
everybody having good fellowship and going hunting, having a good time. It ain't worth the going just because you're going to get in an argument with somebody or you're going to be mad or whatever like that. I mean, that's what it's worth. It's all about. It's having a good time.
Yeah.
You ain't going to make no money at it. So if you ain't going out there to have a good time, they ain't no need you're going.
No, they'll stay at the house at your old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clay's the only one making any money off bear hunting around here.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he does.
I hope he does too.
I hope he does, and I hope he does good. I do.
I hope he comes back and hunts with us.
And I don't.
Hey, did y'all know that Mr. Roy's video, y'all's video, rolled over 500,000 views on YouTube?
Yeah.
Since yesterday.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Hey, keep that on. Keep that on, Mr. Roy. He's trying to take his headset off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that's what I want to do is I want to tell you guys' story. I mean, I don't have, I'd never bear hunted with hounds. I mean, it's not something we grew up doing over there. Now I did grow up with hounds, so I had a love for hound sports, and that was really my connection point. Is it's different, but it's the same. If you appreciate hounds and whatnot, and I think this lifestyle has value that people don't understand, and is easily misunderstood. I mean, really easily misunderstood. It may not be misunderstood in East Tennessee as much as it could be on a national scale. And that's where, I mean, really, it doesn't even make sense, but that's where my passion is, and that's the reason I drove 12 hours one direction to come here for this podcast, is I think what I see here is something that's valuable, culturally valuable.
Absolutely.
And I want to see it go on for generations to come. And the only way that I think we're going to survive inside of the climate of the current culture is if we tell our story, if we tell our side of the story. We interpret this thing for people so that they see value in it, because it's very easily misunderstood. I mean, it's just so, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's very easy to misunderstand. It's very easy to tell a story that's not true about what bear hunting with hounds is and what this produces.
I'd say, Clay, if I was, and this is something probably to say, and it's probably something that a lot of them might think ain't right, and some of them may not like it when you say it. But if you had to go out here and buy every bear dog you had, to me, it wouldn't even be worth even hunting if you had the money to do that.
Right.
I mean, I get the enjoyment out of making these dogs what I can.
Yeah.
And that's what I get out of it. But now, if I had to go buy dogs, I don't think I'd enjoy it as good. And I just tell you the truth. And I ain't saying I ain't never bought a dog. I don't know if I have or not. But... Huh?
you know you bought a
Yeah,
dog. We don't
I
want to
have
discuss that.
Well, they was this bloodline.
We don't want to discuss that.
They was this bloodline. Anyway. And I have bought a young dog or two. But we've made, what bear dogs we've had, we've made them.
That's right.
Ourselves. And I think that's something to be proud of.
It is.
It's something to be real proud
It's a
of.
craft.
It is.
You money can't buy. Money can't buy this. The richest man in the world can't come and buy what has taken 70 years to build.
No, they can't.
And that's the truth. They can go buy a Lamborghini, but they can't go buy Clark's Laurel Mountain plots.
Nope.
That's right.
They
And
sure
that's
can't.
I think that's something that's valuable. But guys, thanks a ton.
Let me jump in here and say something about Roy too, just to say my part. You know, he wears a lot of hats in our group. The leader being the number one, and the breeder, and he gets called a lot of things on the radio. Some of them we probably shouldn't repeat. But you know, we joke about him being the king. We joke about him being a legend, an icon. You know, we've just escalated over the years. You know, YouTube video came out. You got to be an icon now. Well, you know, most of all, Clay and Matthew's hit on this. Scott has, Dad has, all these guys here showed up. He's just like our dad. He's just like our papaw. He's you know, he's a friend. He's our mentor. You know, it's not just about bear hunting. It's about how I raised my son, how Matthew raises his. You know, to be that next generation to come on and not just as bear hunters, but as people. And, you know, we're proud of our community and we're proud of the dogs and we're proud of the hunting, but we're proud of each other and the friendship that we've created and had over the years. And it's friendships that last a lifetime. You know, Roy said it a while ago, we don't have arguments and fights, and not that we don't disagree at times, and not that he don't make us mad sometimes or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's a love for each other.
I can't remember. But one time I said something hateful to him. And one time
he's pointing at Matthew.
And one time I said something hateful to him. Now, that's all I can remember. I might have more, but I'm talking about, I said a little hateful to him that time. I can't tell you when it was or where it was, but
I bet you guys remember it.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't even remember what it's about.
Well, and that's a good point to say. I know how he treats you guys and what he really thinks of you guys, and you guys know it too, or you wouldn't be
and
here.
I don't believe I've ever said nothing to that boy right yonder.
Well, you know, and I wanted to say that just, you know, at the end of the day, when it all comes together, whether we catch a bear, whether or not, you know, we've had a great time, but we love Roy, and that's why we're here, and that's why we do this, and you know, we want to see it go on for years to come. You know, to your point, so we thank you for coming. And sharing our story and his story. Yeah.
Well, that's neat. Hey, every podcast I close by saying I have a phrase that I say, and I'm going to try to get Mr. Roy to say it. Okay. So this is what I say. It's like the tagline of the podcast. I say, keep the wild places wild, because that's where the bears live.
Yeah, that's what I say. I say keep the wild places wild, because that's where the bears stay. But that ain't what happens here all the time. They building houses and stuff right in the middle of where these bears stay.
Well, hey, you nailed it. That is exactly what's happening all across the country. Urban sprawl.
Over yonder at Gatlinburg.
We're trying to close the podcast, and now we've just opened up a can of worms.
Over yonder at Gatlinburg, they bay bears right up beside chain link fence, with house dogs in here nipping at bears through the chain link fence, and the bears bayed up against the fence, and then they walk right on up into the road and walk into the trash dump, and maybe there's 4 or 5 dogs are barking at this 500-pound bear, and he'll reach in there and get him a bag, and Al will come with it, put it in his mouth, And right down the middle of the blacktop road, he'll walk with that bag, and them dogs are barking at him. That's something.
Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like them. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.